Alrighty guys, this is a tutorial on how to set up your Microsoft Excel so that it can run macros, execute macros, and also specifically run my macros. So in this tutorial, I would assume that you guys would have two things prepared already. The first thing is that I would assume that you guys have Microsoft Excel installed on your laptop or computer. And the second thing is that I assume that you guys already have my code that we can use for data analysis process. And the code can either be in text form, it can be like just my source code, or it can also in the module.bas version. This version is the one that is recommended by Microsoft Excel, but both of these will do. And so assuming that you guys have any of this and have Microsoft Excel installed, we can begin the setting up for macros. So the first thing that you need to do is that you need to enable your Microsoft Excel so that it can run macros, any macros on this Microsoft Excel. So to do that, we can go to the File, Options, and then go to the Customize ribbon, and then click on the Developer tab. This developer will create a new tab. Notice in here it's Home, Insert Draw, Home, Insert, Page Layout. So this, by clicking on Developer, you will create a new Developer tab in here. So we can click on OK, and you'll see that there's a new tab in here. This has all the tools that you need to play with macros. And to enable your Microsoft Excel so that it can execute macros, you need to click on Macro Security. You can go there. You can see you can go to Macro Settings, and then you need to make sure that you enable all macros. It says it's not recommended, but don't worry, my code will not destroy your computer. But yeah, just enable all macros and then click on OK. Now your Microsoft Excel would be able to run macros inside it. And to start importing, moving the code that we have to the Microsoft Excel, we can go to Visual Basic. This will open the Visual Basic editor in a new window. So this thing is where you play with your codes. And for the purpose of this video, you only need to carry out the project section of this. So in here, notice that it lists the VBA project book 1. This means that it's looking at this book, it's referring to this book 1 workbook Excel. So any code that you put in this book 1 will only be able to be executed for this workbook. If I have another workbook called book 2, and you have a code in book 1, book 2 will not be able to execute codes that are in book 1. So we want to make sure that my code would be able to be executed for any workbook that you have, because I believe that you guys have a lot of raw data workbooks or a lot of files to go. So in order to do that, we can summon our own personal workbook. A personal workbook is a workbook that is like the parent of each of the workbooks. So to do that, there is not one way to open it, but we can use a trick, because Microsoft Excel specifically makes this complicated. So in order to summon our personal workbook, we can create a dummy macro. We can do it by record a macro, and then when you're creating the dummy macro, we need to make sure that you store the macro in the personal macro workbook, not the new workbook, not this workbook, but in your personal macro workbook. This will create a macro in your personal project. So once you click on that, it will try to record anything that you do in here, but because this is just a dummy macro that we're making, we can just stop recording. Hit on that, and if you click on the Visual Basic again, now we have personal.xlsb. It now has 2 projects instead of 1. So this book 1 refers to this. Anything you put in book 1 will only work in book 1. But for this personal.xlsb, anything that you put in personal.xlsb will work for any workbook that you have in your computer. So this is, by the way, this is the module 1 that we have. This is the macro, the dummy macro that I just made by using the record macro. So if you're using the txt file, you can just copy everything in here and then paste it in here. But I don't want to do that. So if you're using the BAS file, we can just remove this. To move this thing, to move the module 1 BAS to this personal workbook, you can just right click and then import file, and then click on the BAS file that you have. This will import my program, my module, and voila, you got everything set up in your computer, and you can run my program now with any workbook that you have. So to test that, we can look at the macros that we have in this Microsoft Excel, and you'll notice you don't need to care about the test. That's just my thing. You'll notice that it has an add button function, add button macro in it, and that is the one that you want to click on because that's the one that I made. So in order to spawn that, to summon that, you can find out the way by looking in options and then looking at the shortcut key. Right now I set the shortcut key to Control-Shift-M. So you can just click OK, cancel, and you can just, for any workbook, you can just press Control-Shift-M, and this will spawn the control panel sheet that we have. So you can open any raw data, press Control-Shift-M, and then it will just pop out these. Alright, that is it for the setting up actually. Thank you for watching. Bye.